Science communication is one of the most popular and fundamental genres within the social media sphere, especially when it comes to discussions on dinosaurs and paleontology, with content creators and channels taking several different pathways to share their knowledge of their favorite topics while educating others. One such channel that uses video essays as its main template is the Edge Science channel, often delving into a number of different subjects and discussions revolving around biology, paleontology, and other earth sciences. However, in recent months, the creator behind the content, Destin, has come under fire for some rather scandalous allegations of plagiarism. Brought to attention when TK Sivgan claimed that Edge had plagiarized one of his blogs, presenting damning evidence not only of his work being plagiarized, but others as well. In response, Edge took responsibility for his actions, not denying the allegations and laying out what he did and why he did it. Apologizing to several creators and writers, including Sivgan himself, and taking down the videos with plagiarized content from his channel. He would then go on to announce that he would be taking a break, promising to workshop his process going forwards. It's been over a month since this discourse occurred, and as a good friend of Destin, while I don't condone his acts of plagiarism in the slightest, I was curious to see where he was after all this time, and potentially offer a chance for him to discuss things in a better state of mind, and learn what he intended to do about resolving the issue going forward.
I'm Destin behind Edge.
It's been a whole month and you've taken a break. So I think that the community would also like to see like how you've grown from that and what your process is going to be going forward.
All right. So, I think you said that it was like an alleged thing, or that wasn't the word you used, but I have, I wasn't paying attention to the word you used. Anyway, so yeah, I definitely did do that. I plagiarized an article by TK Sivgan, as he stated, and backed up in a video about the incident, and that was definitely really bad. So I have apologized to him, and I want to apologize now, because that's just a shitty thing to do. And I don't have any excuses at all, because there aren't any. And I would like to at least apologize, or just go back on what I may have said at the start of the incident, because I was being defensive. And what I said was at the beginning was defensive, and I was making excuses, and also trying to take, I was trying to have my cake and eat it too, basically, take accountability and also make an excuse. And I think when I was writing that, was that it was more of an explanation and less of an excuse, but I now think it was just an excuse. So that's where I'm at on that. And the other instances of plagiarism that he brought up are correct, and I've deleted those videos. And I've deleted the video where I plagiarized his work. And at this point, how I'm going to change going forward. So in the past, I have done a bunch of my own work in the past. And when doing that, it was basically just reading a paper, summarizing what I've learned from the paper, and then um, synthesizing my own script with my own words out of what I've learned from the paper. And in the more recent, more recent videos, where there are more instances of actual plagiarism, it was more like I got bored and tired of saying the same thing over and over again, and so I would clip a small paragraph from, like Wikipedia or something.
But
And
you
then
but you
say
do
it again.
like so you, but you do understand like why that's, not necessarily the greatest, like,
Oh yeah, I know.
restriction to
I know
do.
it's bad. I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm just explaining why that is that's plagiarism. Cuz I mean, I'm not exactly sure how you would cite Wikipedia in a script, but that's neither here nor there. So, and then in the case of the the TK Sivkin inciting incident, that was just straight up like put in a paraphrasing thing, and that was not good. So maybe going forward, I will be just what I plan to do and what I have been doing in the interim is reading a paper, synthesizing what I've learned from the paper as like bullet points or whatever, and then writing another document, and then also using multiple sources, which is the thing I have done but in the past, and making sure to go the extra mile to cite things more directly, more obviously. Like when you're writing in a script, like, oh, this was said by so and so, even if it's not a quote, and then obviously definitely do that if you're also quoting someone. And then another thing I want to make clear is that I will also be taking an extra step to make sure that nothing is plagiarized by running the script that I make or write through a plagiarism checker online. The one I'm looking at right now is like Grammarly, because that one has a plagiarism checker, but I've read online that excuse me, that it's not like the best plagiarism checker, but I'm still looking around for the best type of thing like that. So yeah.
So naturally people are concerned that how much of your other stuff was, plagiarized. And of course you already stated that, you already deleted your content that had plagiarized pieces in it. So what the biggest concern is now is what can you do going forward to ensure not only the community but your audience itself that what you're producing is 100%, your own work, or at least, researched and written yourself, not just copied and pasted?
I mean, well, the only thing I can do is, well, the only thing, the most basic thing I can do is give my word, but my word doesn't really mean much now. But I mean, the steps that I was just went through on how I'm sort of changing up my writing process are those things, like running it through a plagiarism checker, using multiple sources and writing from those sources rather than, because I assume that you do something similar as like bullet points of what you learned or what information there is in a paper, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's just what I'm gonna do. Another thing that I can do is put the sources in um, the description, which is a thing that I have basically done for the vast majority of videos, except for like stuff that might be based on a Twitter post, or like the video I did on the Jurassic World prologue thing, because you can't really, there's nothing to cite specifically other than sources you use for the sciencey bits. And I'm thinking about maybe providing a like a link to a Google Doc of the script, so that, you know, if people want to quadruple check kind of thing.
So with that last part, I would say that's definitely a really good route to go, where just having more people looking at your scripts, like when you have your own like group of friends, like you at the very least have like a set of people who like even just do it like for the sake of helping you out, so that way you can actually like, you know, just double check and see, or even just like get a second pair of eyes just to, you know, to help you see that, you know, what you might need to fix, or even just make sure your work isn't like plagiarized from anything, and just have that double check. Are you
Yes.
and like I said, it helps like give, you know, give thoughts and like just check over any errors that you might have, or even like offer any interesting thoughts that might be contributed to like towards the discussion. Because when I do a lot of my speculative like biology videos, like with my like Jurassic World stuff, I always have my I always have like my friends like look over those scripts, because not only is it just because I want, you know, I'm really excited and want to share those ideas, but at the same time, a lot of those people aren't just paleo, they're marine biology, they work in, you know, they work in actual parks. So it actually gives me an opportunity to actually hear those thoughts from people who actually have hands-on work with actual like, you know, different fields, and see and get their different perspectives and different ideas. And ultimately just those different eyes on those scripts.
Yeah. I do want people to understand at least that I have done my own work in the past. And I have had some instances of actual experts in the field, I guess we can say, looking over the script, because it was made directly on using their paper or whatever. And so the instances of plagiarism are definitely more recent than old. And I think there was like one or two that was like older. But my point is that I have proof that I can do that in the past. So moving forward, I want to just simply do it the right way, and adding on extra layers of analysis, I guess, to my scripts.
In the past, you've also had people who did give you permission to actually look over their stuff and actually like pull from their work. So do you think there's also any other way to actually like make it more apparent that you're also like borrowing words and quotes from people's work?
Yeah, in some of those, I've put a thing in the beginning saying like, this is based off of this person's work.
So would you say that the recent incident, was that more of a case of just absent-mindedness, or even...
No, it was not.
Okay.
And that's kind of the language that I used when I first made a post about the video. It was more of a defensive sort of response. And that's why I want to know that I want people to know that I really do apologize for that, and I don't want to do that again, because it's also kind of boring as a piece of quote unquote content to do that, because, you know, it's not your own voice. And so I want to be blunt and straightforward with that. That was wrong, and that was not an accident. And I don't ever want to do it again.
So does this mean that your content will probably change going down the road?
Yes. In fact, it already has. And I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm currently writing about the new mosasaur and the whole Spinosaurus thing, and it's hard. I mean, it's always been hard to write. Well, it's always writing is hard, but it's hard to summarize. And I mean, it's not. I hesitate to use the word summarize because that makes it sound like you're just shortening it. But I feel like a lot of our type of videos are just a summary of papers, because that's what science communication and talking about news is. But you know, I'm trying to insert stuff that makes it not just a summary. And I mean, I've done it in the past where like I have to bring up a concept because the paper talks about a concept, and then I'll be the one to go more in depth onto that concept and try to explain it more in depth so that it's not just a word that you hear and pretend to understand. And I think that's a problem with a lot of well, that's the problem with papers, and why the general population doesn't read papers is because it's chock full of vocab words. So I try to define vocab words in the most
Like
the least academic way possible.
Like you're making it more concise.
Well, well, you know, no. I end up making it way more verbose because I mean obviously I try to make it as succinct as possible, but I also will go, you know, use analogies and because the most succinct definition of that word is probably the scientific definition of the word. But if you write the scientific definition, if you say the scientific definition of the scientific word, it's just going to be a lot more science words, right? So it ends up being half of a paragraph to explain a concept. But I think that's good, actually, because it's you're basically teaching someone what the real definition of that word is. And that's kind of how I've been taught in school.
So at the same time, do you think that this also does play a big role in, you know, not just making it more accessible for more casual people, but also helps yourself out with the writing at the very least, because now you're just finding ways to summarize it in a way that allows you to actually bring those facts forward without like directly, you know, copying someone's work.
Doing that trains you to not plagiarize, because you're using your own informal terms to help explain the definition of a science word. And so that's a thing I have done in the past, and I want to keep doing it. And I'm just gonna, you know, make sure that I don't get lazy at the very end of a script and insert something. And honestly, that was stupid anyway, because I could have just written, like, I think it was in, like, the Bear Gulch. That's what it was. I could have just wrote a paragraph that was my own words that basically is saying the same type of information, and then copied and pasted my own words into other scripts. So I have no excuse there. That would have been the correct course of action for that.
So you said that this like sort of thing happened, like it's starting to increase it wasn't as frequent as before, but it started to increase over time. So do you think it also happens to be the result of like the content cycle, where the algorithms become a lot more demanding, so as a result you had to create a lot more
I'm
work?
sure that that's a factor, but I don't want to use that at all as an excuse or a crutch, because plenty of people um, put out content with more frequency than I do, and they didn't do that. And also, I've been putting out more or less the same amount. I don't know, a year, 2 years, 3 years ago, um, when I wasn't plagiarizing. So, and also like you can do short videos. That's what I was wanting to do before all this happened, was just like 10-minute or less videos. I could try to force myself to write less and perhaps be more succinct. Because I know a lot of people like long form content and a lot of people like short form content, and the algorithm seems to be largely arbitrary when it comes to that.
So keeping this in mind too, do you think that you'll also get a bit more experimental with what content you're producing, like going forward, not just like with video essays and stuff, but also like trying to explore different avenues so you can at the very least like broaden those horizons like a bit more?
You mean like topic, or
Well, not just like by topic, but just like types of content like you know want to do, like maybe
you
in
mean like short form, long form
well,
stuff?
well, no, not just that, but also like for example, few paleontologist channels use the fossils that they have on hand or whatever specimens they have on hand and use that as a talking point and
Oh
just
yeah,
like talk
I've
about
always
that
wanted
like
to do that because I have stuff. I just uh I guess that's when the pressure from the putting stuff out puts more of a pressure on it, because I end up not going out and doing like live action shoots because I want to write stuff so that I have stuff put out. And I mean, I have also shot some live action stuff before as well. I just haven't gotten around to using it. Because I mean, I feel like all of us probably have a list of video ideas lying around. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then we don't get to it. But maybe that's just a unique experience of mine.
right.
Please tell me I'm not alone in that.
No, I understand.
Uh,
No, I like completely understand because like even like when I like as much as I want to do toy reviews like these days, I get stuck on like doing like my usual like video essay content because when I get so fixated into the topic, or when I feel like I set a certain date for myself because like certain like videos are like oriented around a certain occasion,
mhm.
and I end up fixating on that, and then I end up like losing track on like what stuff I want to experiment with, and I end up trying to meet the schedule instead, and it ends up
Yeah,
like giving me burnout, and as a result of me getting burnout, I end up passing whatever deadline I set for myself.
yeah, I feel that. I mean, I, I really wanted to, uh, like, have a bunch of videos made for specific, uh, like holidays and events and stuff. Um, but then I'll get caught up in doing, just like your average video to come out on the weekend or something, and then I end up not doing the event thing. And so I've largely given up on trying to have things out on specific dates because it's so variable. And like I've been more caught up in doing videos on new stuff that comes out. Um, and like there will be periods where there's not a lot of like super cool, relatively headline grabbing publications, and it'll be like, oh great, more time that I could work on other stuff, and then boom, 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 you know, uh, New Mexican T Rex, uh, weird mosasaur from Morocco will come, just a bunch of cool stuff will come out, and it's like, oh great,
Yep.
now I have a lot to work on.
And I think that's
Uh,
where I think that's where the short form content like comes in the best because
True. Raptor Chatter does that really well.
yep.
And I always find myself having a hard time summarizing a new paper because it's just one paper, and I'll be like, oh, but there's all this other cool stuff. Unless I don't know, I could see the blurt out uh, bullet points from the paper. That would be kind of cool, I guess. Probably no more than 5 minutes.
And that's fine because at the end of the day, it still helps like with the channel. At the end of the day, it still helps.
Have you seen the shit? Now I'm trying the fucking tuna from SpongeBob. Where it's like breaking news. Have you seen the like? I guess they're TikToks, but they're also on Instagram where he like actually talks about the actual news, but like that.
I actually haven't seen that. That sounds neat.
Yeah, it would be dope to do that with dinosaurs, I think.
Oh, and like,
you know, but would that be plagiarism?
I don't think that'd be plagiarism if like
I don't know.
Like you're giving your own spin on it. As long as you're giving your own spin on it.
It would actually be cooler to use your own, to use my own little avatar guys.
Just from you saying that, I'm already thinking, what if we did that for like dinosaur stuff, and then instead of using like a tuna, we use like Cephactinus or something?
Yeah. Everyone can do the same sort of format.
Yep.
I think I'll use my T-Rex and he'll be like talking. Oh God, then I'd become a what are those? What's the avatar?
I don't even know at this point. So many people like call them like rant-sonas.
Rant-sonas. Yeah, yeah. God, I'm gonna become a rant-sona channel now.
I mean, that's fine. I was like sort of rant-sona-y for a bit.
I guess you were sort of like that, but it was a little different. You weren't annoying about it.
Yeah, I wasn't like saying weird stuff or like getting into like random drama with like over
or
Steven
talking
Universe.
Or like making hot takes on the most horrendous topics. The only one I really remember is that Blue Dragon one. Like Jesus.
Oh, which one? That's like
that's more than one.
That's more than one. That's a lot.
the one that everyone hates because it was like a furry dragon and he was blue. And he would just make a lot of stupid political things.
That's really not narrowing it down. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. It's late.
Do you have any closing statements?
I've messed up. I want to take accountability for that, and I want to move forward with completely original stuff and never doing that again. Because that's basically how I feel about it. I don't want to do that again. That I'm sorry for what I did, and that I hope people accept that I am sorry for what I did. And that they can see, they can observe how I will be going forward with it, with all of the steps that I'm taking for accountability, and, specifically all of those different things we talked about earlier.
All right, well, thanks for coming on and sharing this. I can't say not many people would do this, but at the same time, because, YouTube apologies are like, they're everywhere, but not many people will like.
And they're all awful.
Yeah, they're all awful.
Excuses.
But that's what I was like. Go ahead.
Because I was watching Demon Mama, critiquing the Somerton, the most recent thing, and that dude was like, "I'm sorry if you feel like that." It's like, "I'm sorry that you feel that way," basically. And I was like, "Bruh."
Mm-hmm.
It's like the thing you don't do.
Exactly. And that's what I was getting.
Yeah, it was.
Well, and that's what I was getting around to. Many people will make a YouTube apology, but not many will take accountability. And that's what you're doing. You're taking accountability.
I'm trying to. Yep.
Yep.
I appreciate you having me on.
No problem.
Been a good talk.
It has.
All right.
All right.
Adios.
Thanks so much. As mentioned before, I absolutely don't condone Destin's process that caused him to fall into acts of plagiarism for his videos, especially since other content creators, to my knowledge, have avoided this issue, or at least avoided getting caught. Nevertheless, Destin has always put hours upon hours into his work, in spite of his plagiarism, and has ultimately been a key figure in helping the content creators within the SciComm community network and grow. And while I cannot stress enough, he was absolutely in the wrong for plagiarizing, it's ultimately good that this discussion was brought to attention, especially for channels in order to reflect on their process with content creation. And while Edge did make a massive mistake with plagiarism, he himself has been offered a chance to reflect going forward and fix his mistakes, just as it's a chance for the community itself to grow and move forward. After all, learning and growing is just as much a part of being a content creator as it is being an educator.